Light up the room with your smile. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Have you ever been around someone who actually looked kind of ordinary and in many ways was very ordinary, and yet they stood out as extraordinary? Well, I have been around people like that. Today, my sons and I were out at like a late lunch, early dinner, and we were at this small restaurant, and this lady walked into the cashier to ask her if she could order some hors d'oeuvres for a small dinner party she was going to. And in the process, we could hear this woman, talk to the cashier, and everybody just took notice. This woman was like a light who had entered a room. She was an older woman, older than me, just very average dressed, average looking, but she was extraordinary. You could tell she felt at ease. She felt comfortable with who she was. And she just lit up that room with her smile, her laughter, her kindness, her way of being pleasant. She was just being herself. I think when we discover our authentic selves and we fall in love with who we are and we don't try to be like someone else, often we are able to embrace others and bring out their best in who they are as well. And often other people feel so much more comfortable with who we are. They feel more at ease because, well, we're just being ourselves and we're happy to be around. We're a pleasurable experience. And so this woman lit up the room with her smile, her kindness, her laughter. And so I believe that. I believe that we don't have to be a particular size, a particular look. We don't have to dress a particular way. We don't have to have a particular amount of college degrees or a particular job or a particular financial status or a particular anything to light up the room. All we have to do is be pleasant, be cheerful, be confident in who we are, believe in who we are, be comfortable with who we are, be our authentic self, and be at ease with who we are, and wanting to bring out the best in other people. People who are truly, truly successful in life are people who want the best for other people. They are kind people. They are thoughtful people. Those kind of people light up the room. So be one of those kind of people that light up the room with your smile. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. The journey of education, lifelong learning. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous day out here today. Can you see? Just absolutely beautiful. Well, I got to thinking today about lifelong journey of learning. For me, I'm a learner. I went back to school at age 62 after being out of college for 40 years. I chose to do that not to get another career, but just simply because I am a lifelong learner. I love to learn. And in the midst of the last 40 years, I was always learning. I was always productive. I became an artist. I became a writer. My whole life has always been about learning something daily, whether I was in college or not in college. You don't have to go to college to learn. That's just one way of learning. But I love learning. I love being a lifelong learner, and that's why I'm back in college. But had I not gone to college, I would have still been learning. And I believe in keeping my mind alert and, flexible, and adding right stuff to my mind that's going to enhance my life in a positive way, and gather new information. Not all information is right. Not all information is correct. And so I believe it's important to know how to gather information and know how to identify correct information and how to sift through information that's not correct. And so for me, I'm a lifelong learner, and I love it. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. And I hope you subscribe to my channel. From my house to yours, talk to you then. Bye-bye. New positive changes, choices, and decisions. Circumstances in the present moment often change. Look beyond beyond your present situation. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, so often people get caught up into their present situation and they feel hopeless. They feel like there's nothing ever going to change. They feel like they're stuck in a dead-end job, a dead-end relationship, a dead-end something in their life. They feel like their problem is overwhelming them and they don't know what to do. But I personally believe that time changes things. Yes, right decisions change things also. And it's important to make right decisions throughout. And yet our present circumstances are always changing. And so even when we have a problem, that problem will change. It will either be resolved or it will change in some form. And so I believe that a lot of times people think of their present circumstance as permanent. And most often it is not when we make consistent right decisions in the right direction. And so sometimes we just have to make new decisions. Sometimes people get stuck in a circumstance and they don't feel like they can get out, so they don't make any new positive decisions. But I believe that when we're stuck in a situation, a problem, a job, a relationship, whatever it happens to be, we've got to come up with new positive choices. And those choices need to lead us in the direction that we want to go, not in a direction that we don't want to go. So we have to come up with new positive choices, new positive solutions. Even if we don't know what the solution is, we're working on one. We're working on formulating one. We're working on finding one. And so if you're stuck in a situation that you don't want to be in, just remember circumstances do change. Present circumstances change. Life is always changing. And we can often accelerate that change through new positive choices and decisions. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, you know, I got to thinking today about letting go of those unnecessary shoulds that we place upon our lives that are not serving us well. You know, for me, when I turned 60, it was kind of a big reevaluation of my own life and what made me happy and what did not make me so happy. As a whole, I, had a very happy life at 60, and I'm 62 now, but there were some things that I needed to refine and that I needed to tweak. Nothing major, and fortunately, but I got to thinking about those shoulds. I have a friend who went to a church for many, many, many years, and an older lady, and that church, the last maybe 20 years, had not served her well. At least from her opinion. It didn't serve her well. She wasn't happy with the way she was being treated. And so, or she felt ignored. Now, maybe it was partly her own perception, but maybe not. And so I said to her, well, why don't you find another church? And she said, oh, no. I've gone there for so long. I need to stick with it. And I said, well, that's a should. You've placed that should upon yourself, that you should stay there because you've been there for a long time. Well, fast forward about 2 years from that conversation, and I found out that she had left the church and gone to another church. And she was very, very happy at the new church. And she's still at that new church, and she's still very happy. But she had placed a should upon herself for many years that was unnecessary, and she kept herself where she was not happy. You know, that doesn't make a place or a person or anything else bad. It doesn't make them wrong. Sometimes something's just not right for us, but we place a should upon ourselves. What's right for one person may not be right for another, or what was right at one period of our life may not be right for us now. For me, after I turned 60, I realized how important my relationships were to me. My relationships have always been important to me, but I think as we grow older, our significant relationships even play a more important role. So I wanted to give focus to those relationships. And at the same time, I started to look at other relationships in my life. And I started to say, you know what, are they serving me well? Or are they maybe going through a difficult time, but they'll serve me well in the future? I'm not talking about committed relationships where we've made a commitment in some form and it's going through a difficult or challenging time. I'm talking about situations that we don't have a commitment to and that we are going through, it's just not serving us well, and it probably never will serve us well. And so for me, I realized that I didn't want to hold on to relationships that did not serve me well. I left them politely, nicely, kindly. And in some cases, I still, keep light contact, but I didn't want it as a heavy-duty relationship or a significant relationship in my life any longer. And so for me, I learned to let go. I learned to let go after the age of 60. And letting go is a process. It's not always easy, and we have to sometimes, at least for me, evaluate, is it a good idea to let go? Is it necessary to let go? Sometimes we don't really have to let go of something. Sometimes we can just reposition it in our lives. And sometimes that's all we need to do, is reposition it or tweak it or change it, or even, perceive it a little bit different in our lives. But there are some situations for me that is wise to let go of. If I had a job that I knew I was never going to be happy on, I probably would let it go at some point. I may not let it go that day, that week, maybe not even that year, but at some point I would plan my exit strategy to let go of that job and find a job that I love. Because life is short, and I want to do things that make me happy, things that I love, things that bring me joy. I don't want to go to social situations that I dread. There was one Christmas party a few years back that we routinely went to, and I really dreaded it. It was kind of stiff and uncomfortable, and I don't know how many people that went actually had a good time, but people kept going year after year because, well, they should. And I thought, no, you know what, I'm not going anymore. And I quit going. And it was so much happier. And I went to other Christmas parties that I loved and had such a great time. And for me, I've changed churches in my life that well, one didn't fit me. It might have fit for someone else, but it didn't fit for me. And so I didn't place that should upon myself. Well, I should go there. I didn't do that. I just found another place that was right for me. I had friends that went to a restaurant, and as a group, they regularly went to a particular restaurant. The food wasn't that great. The service wasn't that great. And I really found that, I wasn't having that great of a time. So I said to my friends, I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go anymore. Maybe if you all pick a different restaurant, maybe I will. Well, they all ended up picking a different restaurant because they all felt the same way that I had felt, but they felt that they should go because everyone else was going. And it wasn't until I spoke up that they realized that, hey, they weren't happy with it either. So sometimes we place unnecessary shoulds upon our lives that don't need to be there. And so for me, over the age of 60, I no longer do that. I no longer place unnecessary shoulds in my life. And I've learned to let go of what will never serve me well. And I've learned to let go in the right ways. What works for me may not work right for someone else, or it may. Everybody is different. Everybody has to choose what's right for their own life. But this is how I live my life. And at 60, I've learned to let go of what does not serve me well. From my house to yours, God bless you, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye. Lies, lies, sweet little lies. Lies Tell Me Little Lies. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I got to thinking about the subject of lying. When someone lies to you, or perhaps when you've lied to someone else. Hopefully, neither is the case. But, you know, it's a fact of life that lies exist in life. They're not truth. They're not truthful. People lie for a lot of different reasons. They lie because, well, they want you to think the best of them. They don't want you to think the worst of them, so they'll make up a big story. Or they'll lie to keep from you finding out something maybe that they did that they don't want you to find out about. Maybe they lie not to hurt your feelings. Maybe they lie to deceive you. Maybe they lie to have you make a wrong decision so that they'll look good. You know, lies can be for any reason. You know, there's something called a white lie, which is kind of like if you ask me, how do I think you look today? And I think you really look awful, but I'm probably going to say, oh, you look great. You know, that's kind of a white lie, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about lies that are just basically filled with deceit for one reason or another. Someone's trying to deceive you in a way that's not to your benefit. And so I believe that lies are never really to our benefit anyhow, even if it's for good purpose or a person thinks that they're lying to protect us or whatever. And so what happens when someone lies? Well, first of all, I think when we find out that someone's lied or they find out that we lied, the person who lied has lost credibility in the eyes of the other person. And sometimes once you lose credibility, it's very, very challenging and difficult to get it back. Some people get very upset when someone lies. Some people get very hurt. Some people don't know what to do. Some people don't say anything, but it kind of festers under there. But any which way, a lie is not a good thing. When we lie, when someone else lies to us, it breaks trust. It breaks something very, very important in that relationship, so that even if the relationship continues, likely the person who was lied to will never trust the person who lied again. And that's just the way it is. Lies can break a relationship. And even if they don't break a relationship, they change a relationship. And it often changes that relationship not for the better. And so I believe in keeping our integrity. I believe in keeping our word. I believe in telling the truth. Or, you know, and like I always say, truthful words are not always the right words to say. Sometimes we should say nothing at all rather than lie, in my opinion. And so I think lies, sweet little lies, are really not all that sweet. They're more sour. They leave a bitter taste in your mouth when someone has lied to you, or if we find out that someone found out that we lied to them, we can often feel terrible. We can often feel great remorse when we've lied to someone else. And often we can spend a lifetime trying to make up for it. So I believe in just not lying in the first place and staying away from lying. And if someone else has lied to us, for me personally, and just for me personally, I back off from people like that. Well, from my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. From Grandma's porch, I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. Life in Europe, stories from my life. Life in Europe, stories from my life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit and tell you all a story from my life. You all know how I like to share little stories, true stories from my life, and I love to hear other people's stories as well. Well, my husband and I were moving to Europe, and it was an exciting time. We had just been to New England, and I caught a cold, but didn't know I had a cold until I got on the plane. And then I started to feel really not good. So the 14-hour trip was not the most comfortable trip for me. Once we were there, some friends picked us up in their car and took us to what is called a guest house, which is like a hotel. And we stayed there for a few weeks while we waited on finding an apartment. We didn't have our cars there yet. They were being shipped. And so our bicycles had been delivered. So my husband and I, we took our bicycles around the town that we had moved to, and it was such an exciting time. People would stare at us because, well, we looked kind of unusual, or at least I did. And, I looked so out of place being there. And it was just exciting and new, and we didn't know how to speak the language, so we would point like if we wanted to order something. We had no idea. And so it was just new, and it was wonderful. Well, very shortly thereafter, we found an apartment, and the apartment had a landlady, and she was so neat. She didn't speak English, and I didn't speak her language, and we just really became very close through cooking, and she tried to teach me her language. Well, gradually through books and cassettes, because it was books and cassettes back then, I learned to speak the language and other languages as well, self-taught. And so, I just had a wonderful relationship with her. We lived on the second level. It was kind of a family home, and the son lived on the top level, and she and her husband lived on the bottom level, and we had a separate apartment. And I would bake pies and make homemade bread, and I would put it on the windowsill, to cool. And it was just such a fascinating, wonderful time. When my husband and I first got there, we both played Scrabble because, well, we didn't feel comfortable traveling at first. And so we played so many games of Scrabble on the weekend nights. And I beat my husband 19 games, and then he beat me 19 games. It was really fun. And we had this little black and white TV that only got a couple stations. And of course, we didn't understand the language, but it was so cool and so neat. And so eventually we moved to another house. It was like a townhouse, a very nice one, for a short period of time. But then my husband got a better job out in Bavaria, and I stayed there because I had to finish up my job. Well, when my job was over, I turned over the keys to the landlord, and we didn't have cell phones back then, and I really didn't have a way to connect with my husband once I disconnected our phone. And so I took off in my little BMW convertible on a beautiful day, and I was traveling on the Autobahn, listening to Mick Jagger's Sweet Thing, and I got distracted, and I kept on driving, and I missed my exit. And I ended up at another border of another country, and it was towards evening, and I got really scared because I had no idea where I was at, what to do. And no one seemed to know where this little town was. And I was trying to remember it from the directions my husband had given me. So I learned a lot about maps and writing things down after that. So anyhow, my husband apparently had put out a police report for a missing woman, me. And so I continued to travel and get lost, and I would turn around and go this way and go that way. And it was getting later and later. So I pulled over to a truck stop, and I was just crying. And this really nice man came over, a truck driver, and he said, "Can I help you?" In his broken English, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes, I'm lost." And I told him where I was going, that no one else seemed to know where it was, because it was a tiny little village, and Heidi territory in Bavaria. And he said, yeah, I know where it is. My brother-in-law lived there. And so I ended up following this big semi over hill and over dell and everything else. And I just kept following him. I had to trust somebody to get me where I needed to go. And I think he was like an angel. Anyhow, we went over these farm fields and everything like that. And as I approached the little town and the street, because the town wasn't very big, I saw my husband at the end of the street with a group of men, and it turned out to be his friends. And, they were all concerned about me, and they were going to go out looking for me. And the truck driver waved, and he said, "Auf Wiedersehen." And I said, "Auf Wiedersehen." And away he went. and away I went and into the arms of my husband. Well, we lived in Bavaria for a couple of years. It was beautiful and wonderful and magical. And we had cows and chickens and all of that. And so I just loved it. And we traveled so much. One time we traveled on a train in one of the Eastern Bloc countries. And I looked down, as I went to go to the bathroom, tinkle, as we call it. And when I did, I looked down and everything went onto the train tracks. Then I understood why people didn't walk on the train tracks. And then the train caught on fire in the middle of the night in about 10 degrees below zero weather, and it was snowing. And apparently someone's cigarette caught it on fire. So we all had to get out of the train in the middle of nowhere. And that is a whole nother story. Another time we went to Italy and we were down by the Colosseum and we were sleeping in back of our truck, backed up near the Colosseum, and these bandits came over and they were going to try to break into our truck with us in it. My husband was sound asleep, so I kept telling them, I kept acting like a crazy woman. Finally, they believed me and they took off. And another time I went to the supermarket on my bicycle with my basket, bought some bread and some other fresh vegetables and things like that. And I was trying to speak the language. Well, I had learned the language with cassettes and books and my landlady. And so I kept saying to the cashier, I wanted to tell her she looks busy. And instead I told her she was damaged. And I kept repeating it, you are damaged, you are damaged. And at first she looked confused, and then she started laughing because she knew what I meant. And I just didn't pronounce the words right because they were kind of close in how you say them. And so I had so many amazing, wonderful experiences while in Europe, and I just loved it, got to travel, and I cherish those memories. I absolutely cherish those memories. And so another story from my life, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I would love to hear your stories as well. From my house to yours, God bless you. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Always be on the lookout for new opportunity. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about new opportunity. My son today, he said, Mom, I'm going to go out and check out this new sports type of place. And so he did. He went out there, and it was one that I had never heard of or he had heard of before. And he really, really likes it. So we're going to check it out a little bit further to see if it's actually a right option for us. But they have all kinds of different sports activities that our regular gym doesn't seem to have. And even though we'll continue on with our regular gym, this is just one more opportunity, an addition that we can add into his life in a positive way. And so what I'm saying is that he saw an opportunity and he went and checked it out. Now, not all opportunities that we check out are going to be right for our lives. Sometimes we check an opportunity out and it just doesn't apply for us. And yet, often when we open ourselves up to the potential and possibility of new opportunities, we will discover things that can absolutely enhance our life for the better. So I'm always on the lookout for new opportunities, new friendships, new places to go, new things to do, new ideas that would be applicable to my life. And I think a lot of times people get stuck in life and they don't look for new opportunity. They just keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and which can be good. Sometimes same is good. good. And yet, if they're bored with it, or if they're just kind of, treading water, sometimes adding something new to our life can be an absolutely wonderful way to flavor our lives and continue on with the things that we already have, but it kind of can add to what we already have. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Change our attitude, change our energy, change our lives. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I'm sitting out here on my back screened-in porch, and someone called me and told me there's going to be a big storm. So I probably will not go out to run. I don't know if for certain there's going to be a storm, but if there is, I don't want to get caught in it. Rain or shine, I go out and run, but not in big storms. I use discretion when I go running. So I got to thinking about change our attitude, change our life, change our energy. The energy that we're giving out, the attitude that we're giving out, often we will receive back from other people or from the environments or from the situations. I believe that when we change our energy for the positive, we can change our situations for the better in many cases, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a social situation, or whether it's almost anything else. Our attitude plays such a big part in our lives and how our lives turn out. Some people are just so negative. Everything is negative, and then they wonder why their relationships are negative. Then they wonder why their job is negative. Then they wonder why they don't have any friends, or their friends are not so good. Often it has to do with the energy that we're giving out, the momentum that we're giving out, the attitude that we're giving out. Because often that attitude, that momentum, that energy shapes the environment around us. If we go into work every day and we've got this negative spirit about the job, often the people and the environment will react negatively to us. Whereas if we go into that job with a can-do spirit, often that environment will shift and change for the better. And if it can't change for the better, sometimes it's wise to look for another job. And I believe some environments are just not going to change, but our attitude can change. And when our attitude changes, our lives tend to change for the better. And in a relationship, if we have this, lackluster attitude and lackluster energy, often our relationships are going to lack luster. Whereas if we have energy and enthusiasm and positivity about our relationships, even one that has kind of gone negative, often that will turn that relationship around in a positive direction. Sometimes it won't, and in situations like that, we've got to decide, do we want to stay in the relationship or not stay in the relationship? Either way, we've changed for the better. Our attitude is a positive one. Our attitudes and our energy really do affect the environments around us. So I always work at keeping my attitude positive. When I get up out of bed in the morning, I have a positive attitude. What can I accomplish today that's going to improve and make my life better and make the lives around the people that are around me better? And I always think from a positive point of view. I deal with reality. I'm a realistic optimist, and yet I'm a very positive person. I'm a positive optimist. I believe in the can-do spirit. I believe in having positive energy. I believe in hanging out with people who have positive energy, because really and truly, our energy will affect the people around us, and our energy, enthusiasm will affect our relationships, our jobs, our social situations, almost every area of our lives. Even our goals. Our attitude can affect our goals and how we approach that goal. If we have the attitude, I don't know if I can accomplish this, that kind of puts the brakes on it. But if we have the attitude of, I can do this, we're more likely to create a situation that we can make that dream goal or vision happen for our lives. So having a great attitude, having great positive energy is a wonderful thing. And I often say, change your attitude, change your energy, change your life for the better. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. And I think we are going to have a storm. May God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Build your life on solid decisions. Build your life on solid decisions. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. So we're having this beautiful, beautiful day today. And it's early evening now. And it's just been wonderful, wonderful day out here on Grandma's porch. And I've worked in the garden, did my 5-mile run, did my college work all day. A little bit tired, but I feel great nonetheless. And so I got to thinking today about build your life on solid decisions. You know, some people expect their lives to turn out wonderful when they're building their lives on very flimsy choices and decisions, choices that they knowingly know that are probably not good choices, but yet somehow they expect those choices to turn out great. I believe that our choices and decisions do affect our lives. They can affect it in the short term and they can affect it in the long term. And sometimes we make short-term decisions that feel good, but long term they're not going to be so good. Or sometimes we can make long-term decisions that we don't feel good about in the moment. But the best kind of decisions are the decisions that we feel good in the present time and we feel good in the future. I don't like to forego my present for my future or my future for my present. I like both to be in harmony in my decision making. And so some people, you know, build their life like the 3 little pigs, you know, the straw house, the wood house, and the brick house. And I like to be the 3rd little pig that builds my decisions like the brick house, solid, sturdy decisions if at all possible. And so when making decisions, I see people who make just such flimsy decisions and their lives are always in a state of disarray from one year to the next to the next. Their life really doesn't change because their decision making doesn't change. They may change environments, they may change jobs, they may change relationships, but they continue to make poor decisions. And those poor decisions can often create disharmony in just about all areas of their lives. But I know other people that make great decisions, and they make great decisions even during tough and difficult and challenging times, and their lives tend to stand so much better, so much sturdy, and they tend to find the successes that they would like to have in life because they're making the most informed, best choices that they know how to make. And so I believe in looking at our choices and decisions and making great decisions in our lives. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Get over it by changing what you talk about. Quit thinking about it. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. And I got to thinking about people who just are going over and over and over something. And it's usually a problem, or it's usually some unhappy thing that they're going over and over and over. They're trying to process it. They're trying to come up with ideas or solutions, or perhaps they've just been traumatized by it. And they're just trying to, come to grips with it. And I got all that. And sometimes we have to do those things. And yet I think that we reach a point sometimes where it can take over our lives. That's all we talk about. That's all we talk to our spouses about, our kids about, our parents about, our friends about. And sometimes we just have to quit thinking about it, quit talking about it, and shift our focus onto something very, very positive. I've known people that have experienced things in life and they've not been able to easily get over it, so they just talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And I don't believe in suppressing things and holding things in. And yet I also don't believe in going over and over and over things, because I often think that it doesn't do good. And sometimes it can even cause some damage. And so I believe the quicker that we can move on in life, sometimes the better. Yes, we do have to deal with problems. Yes, we do have to deal with things that's happened to us. Yes, we do have to deal, and create solutions and answers and things like that. But sometimes going over and over and over it, and driving the people around us crazy too by going over it all the time, is just simply not going to do any good. And it can push people away, and it also can create a lot of unhappiness in our own lives. And so sometimes I think we just have to shift our thoughts and stop talking about it and stop thinking about it, and just move on to positive self-talk and positive conversations with others about other topics, about can-do topics, about positive topics. It's amazing how people love to talk about problems, but so often you don't hear them talking about their dreams, their goals, their ambitions. Sometimes when friends get together, it's just talking about problems. Husbands and wives are talking about problems. The parents are talking to the kids about problems. The kids are talking to their parents about problems. And sometimes, yes, we do have to talk about problems. And yet, we should also be talking about positive things in our lives. Dreams, goals, ambitions, all the good stuff in life as well. So sometimes we just simply have to quit thinking about it, quit talking about it, and move forward in life in a most positive way by changing our thoughts and changing what we're giving focus to, and change it to focusing on something very, very positive. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Compliments. Give out honest compliments. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking today about compliments. Some people hold on to an honest compliment like a dog does with a bone. They just can't give that compliment out. They feel like, well, if they give that compliment out, it's going to cost them something. In most cases, we feel a sense of reward when we can give out an honest compliment to someone. It gives us a sense of satisfaction that we are confident enough in who we are that we can tell someone else something good about who they are. I always believe the compliment has to be honest. Otherwise, it's not really a compliment. It's just kind of fake, and people can read through that. So when I'm talking to someone, I always try to find something that I like about them that's honest. And then I tend to give them that feedback. It always has to be appropriate, socially appropriate. We can't just go up to, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to go up to a strange man and say, oh, you're so good looking. I don't think that would go over well. Or for a man to go up to a woman and say that he doesn't know and say, oh, you're so beautiful, I just think you're so beautiful. So to me, we have to remember to respect social guidelines and social boundaries. And having said that, if it's correct socially, and if it's acceptable and it's right, I love to give compliments. Last night we were at a dinner, and there was a woman who was at dinner. I had not met her before, and it was kind of a large group of people, so I really didn't get the opportunity to talk to her. And she was leaving on her way out the door, and I made sure to get up. We were aware of each other's presence and who each other was. And I went over to her and I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, I just want to tell you that I think you are so very beautiful. And it was an honest compliment, because she was, and she is, and her face just lit up. Now, granted, sometimes people don't know how to accept a compliment. And so we have to remember, some people don't know how to accept a compliment, or they'll go, oh, no, that's not true. Well, you know what? If we tell someone it's not true, then we're kind of saying that they're wrong. So if someone gives me a compliment and it's an honest compliment, I'm very grateful for it. I love honest compliments, and I can never hear them enough. You know, I don't live my life for compliments because I don't. I don't need to have compliments to validate who I am. But it's sort of the icing on the cake. You know, it's nice to have them. And so I love to give out compliments, but honest ones. And so I'm a frequent honest complimenter. And so I look for things to compliment people on. Great job that you did. You did such an awesome job. Wow, you did a great job on cleaning your car. You know, my sons clean my cars, our cars. And when they finish it, if they've done a great job, I say, hey, you have done such an awesome job on the car. You know, make sure to give out honest compliments, okay? Well, from my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you subscribe, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. Bye-bye. Life is always changing. Changes, change. Life is always changing. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I got to thinking about changes, that life is always in a state of change. And I believe that it's important that we learn the art of adaptation. Because when life changes, if we stay exactly the same, often it's not going to work to our benefit. So when life changes, often we have to kind of grow into that change, whatever it happens to be. The world is always changing. The environments around us are always changing. Even when things don't seem to change, things are changing. I believe it's important that we learn to adapt, that we learn to morph in a sense, that we learn to adjust to changes around us. I believe that growth can take place in almost any environment. Yes, some environments are better than others for us to grow and flourish in, and some environments it's more challenging. And yet, I believe in even a challenging situation, we can often grow and flourish. And yet, we have to adapt and change in order to do that. I believe that things are always changing. Life is always changing. Our relationships are always changing. People are always changing. Our jobs are always changing. Our neighborhoods are always changing. Life is always changing. And so if we think everything is going to stay the same, I think we're probably fooling ourselves, because it probably isn't. And if we continue to interact once those changes have taken place, if we continue to interact the same way we did before, often it's not going to be to our benefit. In other words, we have to adjust. If we go to work every day and then say that several people quit the job and new people came in, we have to adjust to new personalities. We have to adjust to a new work environment, in a sense, because the old co-workers left and new ones came in. So life is always changing, but we can flourish and we can grow and we can have a positive experience in nearly any change that takes place. We just have to learn how to adjust and adapt and make it to our benefit. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. California, here I come, stories from my life. California, here I come, stories from my life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I've tried to start this video about 20 times. And each time the phone rang, then I took the phone off the hook. My husband walked through the video. My kids walked down the stairs. The doors slammed. The cats came through the room. I should have just left it all in, right? And it's all good. So I'm restarting once again. So I usually come on now and then and I tell stories from my life. Now, sometimes they're in order and sometimes they're not, but they're all true stories. And I love to share my stories with you all. And I love to hear your stories as well. I love to hear other people's stories. And so this one is a continuation from last night's story called Summer Love, the cute guy with 100 parking tickets, which was a continuation of the story from the night before. So if you haven't heard it, you might want to go back and listen to it. And so I'm kind of picking up, I'm coming to the end of the year at the university in a Southern-like university. And my mom came and picked me up in her new Pontiac in the 1970s. And she said, hey, you know, you've got the whole summer off. Let's take off for a new adventure. So my mom and I, with our suitcases in the car, take off, not knowing where we are going to go. So we go to Memphis and visit some friends there. And then we head on to New Orleans. But we didn't quite make New Orleans on that trip. But we ended up thinking, well, we'll go to Texas where we have family. But just maybe we'll go to California where we have family out there too. Well, we came to the fork in the road. One way was to Texas and one way was to California. So we really didn't know which way to go. So I prayed. I said, Lord, which way should we go? Should we go left or should we go right? Well, we ended up going right and headed for California. Before I knew it, we were crossing into the border, and I think it was Needles, California, and we stayed at like a Motel 6 type of place with a swimming pool. And I remember sitting out there by the pool on a really hot day with movie star magazines. And I think that was back when Charlie's Angels was around and very new. And I was like, oh, if I could only be a movie star. I had all these amazing dreams. And I believe in having dreams. And so, well, we ended up at a beach town where my aunt lived and her family. But we stayed initially at a little motel and nearby. And I remember watching the show called Alice, where she was a waitress. And I kind of related to that at the time because I had no idea what I was going to do for a career. I was 18 or 19 years old and coming into California and didn't know. And I didn't even know if we were going to stay there or just visit. Well, 2 days later, we ended up renting an apartment. And it was a nice apartment, 1 bedroom, and it had a swimming pool. My mom wasn't going to live there. She was just going to stay for a little while. But I had no job, didn't know if I was going to go to school, had no idea. So I did get a job as a secretary, even though I didn't have secretarial skills. And so I worked at that for a little bit. And then I went and I took, at the suggestion of a lady that I had met, I had went to a nursing school and applied and took all the tests. But I realized I couldn't afford to go to nursing school, so I kind of just said, forget that, I'm not going to do that. And I sat down on my bedroom floor in the apartment, and I said, God, I've done everything I could. I took all the tests, filled out all the applications, and if you want me to go to nursing school, you'll have to make it happen. Well, I started looking for another job. I went to Newport Beach, and while I was gone, my mom got the phone call from the nursing school, and they asked why I had not returned, that I had done excellent on the testing. My mom said, well, she doesn't have the money to go, and it's a lot of money. And they said, well, you know what? We have a program. We'll put her on, and we'll pay for all of her living expenses and pay for her tuition and her books. What a miracle. My prayers were answered. And so away I went to nursing school, about an hour away from where I lived. And so I had to buy a car because my mom was leaving with her car. And so I had to have a car. And so we bought this $450 blue Mazda, what was actually red, and I paid $25 to have it painted, which did not look so good. Had no radio and no air conditioning, and it was just a basic car that got me from point A to point B. It didn't look very good. And so away I went to nursing school. While I was at nursing school, I met this manly woman, and she was married to another manly woman back when it wasn't acceptable. And so we became friends, and she said, well, you could ride with me. I live nearby. So she would pick me up in what I called the man mobile. It was like a 1964, 65 huge Chrysler. And away we would roar down the road to nursing school each day, and in her manly car. But along the way, we picked up another student who had some phobias, and he couldn't stand the freeway. So every time we got on the freeway, he would scream something like, let's get off, I'm going to puke, I'm going to puke. And we had to give him a bag because he would throw up, and he just couldn't stand the traffic. And so, you know, every day that went on with him, and every day she would pick me up in the man car, and we would stop at a restaurant and get coffee in the morning, and people thought I was her girlfriend. And her wife actually got a little bit jealous. And it was fun. It was wonderful. She was wonderful. And so we all went to nursing school, and that was a very interesting time of my life, and it opened up a lot of amazing doors for me. Fast forward a few years, I ended up getting a job in LA at an amazing place, and that in itself opened up many, many doors for me. And that's another video, a whole bunch of other videos called Young Doctor in Love, where I fell madly in love with a young doctor, and he fell madly in love with me. And then the mansion, the famous mansion that I got to go to, and then the 4 famous brothers, and the movie star, and so many other wonderful, amazing stories to add to this story. So this is kind of the foundation for other stories to be told. And so I hope you stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed my story tonight about how I got into nursing school, the manly car, the manly woman, and the guy with all the phobias. And then there was me, 18, 19, 20-year-old me going to nursing school. So may God bless you. Enjoy the stories from your life, and I hope you enjoy the stories from my life. Have a wonderful night. May God bless you, and I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Compassion. Compassion is one of the most redeeming qualities a person can have. Compassion. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, one of the most redeeming qualities or traits that I admire in someone is compassion. When someone is compassionate, I just so admire that. You know, I believe that compassion is sometimes a lost art or a dying art in many cases. You know, compassion means that you can feel empathy for another person, that you listen to another person, that you care about another person or people, that you can sometimes put yourself emotionally in the same place that that person is feeling what they're feeling, so you can understand it. You're compassionate, you're loving, you're understanding. You take the time to be with another person. Everyone has a different set of circumstances. When I get on these different live streams and I listen to people, and every live stream is different. One live stream, it's all about bickering between people. Their circumstances are different in their life. And then I get another one, it's all about positivity and living your best life like mine is. And so I realize that everyone's circumstances is different. It's unique. We all have different things going on in our lives, different likes, dislikes, different history, all of that. And yet one thing we can all come together on is compassion and understanding that maybe your circumstances may be different than mine and mine may be different than yours. We can be compassionate and understanding towards each other. I think that sometimes people live in being so judgmental. And of course, we all, have our way of, judging whether something's right or whether something's wrong, at least for our own lives. But I think some people live in being judgmental. That is just who they are. And I don't like to be around people like that because they're very, very hard-lined. Yes, I have my set of standards. Yes, I have my set of rules, my set of beliefs. But just because I may disagree with someone does not necessarily mean that I am going to discount them in any way, because I'm not. I realize that, that their way for them may be right for them. It may even be wrong for them, but that's their life. And I can still show compassion and I can still show love. And so just remember, if you have compassion, you have one of the most redeeming qualities that a person can have. And if you see compassion in other people, it's one of the most admirable qualities that someone can have. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Don't support someone else's negative habits. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I believe there's a word called codependency. That's someone who supports someone else's negative habits, from my understanding. I'm not sure of what the correct definition is because I'm not an expert in that area. And I'm just a common sense mom, okay? And I apply common sense to my life. So if I see someone who has a bad habit of any kind, it could be eating the wrong foods, it could be smoking cigarettes, it could be whatever. I don't support that habit or encourage that habit. And I believe codependency does. I remember someone growing up would go out and buy someone else's cigarettes for them. That was a sense of codependency in a way, and it was supporting a negative habit. And so I believe in not supporting someone else's negative habit any more than I would want someone to support my negative habit if I had one. So I do believe that a lot of people support each other's bad habits one way or the other. Sort of like, I love to go to buffets, but I don't because I'm vegan and I take care of my health. But let's say I had a friend who was very encouraging of eating out, and she'd say, hey, let's go to the all-you-can-eat buffet. And I'd say, gosh, okay, because I'd be very tempted. So I want to surround myself with people who can help keep me in line towards the direction that I want to go, not towards a direction that's not good for me. And in that case, it would be going to the all-you-can-eat buffet and stuffing myself with food that I don't want to eat. So it's important to surround ourselves with people who are going to encourage us in the right direction, not encourage us in the wrong direction. So I believe in not being supportive of other people's negative habits. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I'm just getting in here to college. And it's about an hour drive in and then an hour drive home. And so I try to get here a few minutes early if I can, so that I have time enough to, if there's traffic or anything like that. And so, yeah, I come in here and go to college, and then I go home and I do all my projects and homework, and it's a lot of them. But it's all good. It's all good. And I'm happy to be back in college at age 62. And it's kind of a really, really new experience, because college has changed a lot from 40 years ago when I was first in college, and everything is computerized now, and you really have to do computerized everything, and so I really wasn't used to that when we first started. Now I'm used to working on a computer, but I wasn't used to the degree that we work on the computer now in the classroom setting. So it's all good. It's all good. And I just got to thinking about, living your best life and getting out there and making your life happen. Most of the time in life, life is not going to happen unless we make it happen. And, we can wish all we want, talk about it all we want, but until we come up with a plan and step out with the right plan for our lives, not much is likely to happen. And then when we do, often we find that we have to, use energy and time, and sometimes we have to rearrange our lives to fit in what it is that we're pursuing. I know when I went back to college, I really had to change my life around and how I do things, because, well, this takes up a lot of time. And the things that I did before, such as an artist, I was painting all the time. I will always paint, but to the degree I painted before, I can't do it as much. So I've had to change my schedule a lot and rearrange it. And fortunately, my family, understands that and supports me. And of course, we have, an amazing family, and we all support each other on our journeys towards a positive life and lifestyle. Some people live a negative lifestyle and they seek out negative things, whereas when you live a positive lifestyle, you're going to seek out what is positive for your life and for those around you. You want the best for those around you, and you want the best for yourself. And it is good to, look at things and say, hey, no, this doesn't belong in my life. Learning to say no to what doesn't belong, and learning to say yes to what does belong. And so I'm always reevaluating things and refining things and tweaking things, and always working at improving everything in my life. Well, I better get in there and get started. And so love you all much. I wish you all a great day, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. And I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. So from my college to wherever you're at, may God bless you, and I'll talk to you then. Enjoy the journey called life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, my husband and I, we just got in from dinner out with friends. It was sort of a retirement dinner for someone, and they are retiring. And so it was kind of a larger group of us, and I had a really great time. And yet, while I was sitting there, I really got to reflecting on my own life and how fast it has gone. I'm 62 years old, and looking back upon my 62 years, I go, wow, where did it all go? Yesterday, it seems like I was 32, and a few days ago, or a few years ago, it seems like I was 22. And so the years go by really, really fast. And I just thought about, enjoying the whole journey, every season of life. Every season of life is different from the previous season, and it has its own unique gifts and blessings. And I think I really did savor each of my seasons of life. In my 20s, I lived in LA, and I was doing the LA lifestyle, the good stuff, not the bad stuff, and having a great time. In my 30s, I was married and newly married and madly in love, and all that goes along with that, and traveling the world, living in Europe. And then my 40s, we were having beautiful children and raising our family, and all that was wonderful attached to that. And then in my 50s, I was continually raising my kids, and they were growing up and becoming teenagers. And now in my 60s, I am a college student again, full-time college student at 62 years old. And so really, I just got to thinking that, life goes by fast. Don't get caught into the small, stupid stuff of life. Let those things go and focus on all the beauty and wonderful that's in your life, because it does go by fast. Whatever years years I have left in life, and I hope there are a lot, I plan on savoring every single moment of them, even the ups, the downs, the ins and outs, all of it. And, I got through all the ups and downs in life before, and I survived, and I'm hoping that I'll get through all the ups and downs in the future. There goes my cuckoo clock. It always cuckoos when I'm doing my videos, or my grandfather clocks start donging in the background. And just enjoy it and don't sweat that small stuff and savor the moments. And one season should be equal to the other season, or even better. I hope that my seasons ahead, my years ahead are absolutely wonderful. And maybe they'll even be better than all the other seasons put together. Who knows? Although I've had some wonderful, wonderful seasons, and I cherish each one. But I believe that every season is equal. It's what we do with it that makes all the difference in the world. And so I want to enjoy my future. I've enjoyed my past, and I'm enjoying my present. So savor the moment. Enjoy your journey called life. Well, I hope you subscribe to my channel, and may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you all soon again. From my house to your house, God bless you. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Sometimes we have just got to lighten up. Lighten up a little. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking about sometimes people get really heavy in their conversations and heavy in their thinking and heavy in their relationships, and sometimes we just have to lighten up a little bit and go have fun or be silly or do something off the beaten path, like play a board game or give your spouse a back rub, or, something beyond just talking about problems or talking about issues, because a lot of times we can resolve many issues by lightening up, by not giving that issue focus. Sometimes with an issue, we can be watering that issue to get bigger and bigger and bigger by over talking it. Yes, sometimes we do need to talk about an issue. Sometimes we do need to apply a problem. Sometimes we do need to be serious. But overall, when we are too serious all the time, constantly bringing up problems, that can really, really wear on relationships. And that's often not good. Sometimes what a relationship really needs is for us not to try to solve the problem at the moment, but instead lighten up and go have fun and enjoy that other person. Enjoy the good side of that other person if possible. Some relationships we can't do that with, and I understand that. But some relationships, and I think most relationships, we can do that with. We can lighten up for air and then go back to the problem later. And sometimes the problem has disappeared by that point. And so sometimes we just simply need to lighten up in our relationships. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And we are having another beautiful day out on Grandma's porch with a lot of pollen. I have all the couches covered up except for Grandma's couch. And but I'm going to have to cover it up again because we have all that pollen moving in. Well, may God bless you all. Hope to talk to you all soon again. Bye-bye. Linger longer, staying too long, perfect timing. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking about lingering longer, staying too long, and perfect timing. Well, I did another video a while back called Lingering Longer, how lingering longer can work to our advantage, how sometimes when we take it slow to exit, we often can make great new connections, we can often reconnect, we can often learn new information. Sometimes I take my time as I exit to talk to people, to chit chat or whatever. And often I have found in that lingering somewhere in the right amount can often work to my advantage. And yet, if we stay too long, often that can work to our disadvantage. There's a very fine line between lingering longer and staying too long and having perfect timing. I opt for perfect timing in life. Now, in bigger situations, sometimes people stay too long in a situation. Sometimes they exit too soon. So it's important to know perfect timing. And how do we know if it's perfect timing? Well, I believe it's an individual set of circumstances that we have to determine whether it's perfect timing, staying too long, or good lingering longer. I will tell you a little story about someone that I knew. This person had been on a job, a career for many, many years in great standing. They decided to retire with full retirement benefits. And they were all ready to do so when they were asked to stay on another year or so. And so, against their better judgment, they stayed on an extra year. It was during that year that all kinds of chaotic things happened, and they almost lost their position as well as all of their retirement benefits, something that they had earned for many, many years. And I believe personally it was partly due to them staying too long when it was time to go. So I believe that there's a time to stay and a time to go. And each individual has to determine when it's right. But if we let someone talk us into staying longer than we should, often we can run into obstacles, challenges, and difficulties. And yet, often, if we leave too soon, we may miss out on wonderful opportunities or blessings. So it's really, really important to determine whether we should stay or whether we should go. But I do believe that there is a perfect timing for each. There's a perfect timing to stay and a perfect timing to go. And I always believe, if at all possible, to always leave a situation on a good note and to leave it better than when we entered. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. Bye-bye. The importance of being a great listener. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, what many of you know is I know how to be a great talker. But what many of you also don't know is that I know how to be a great listener. I believe that listening skills are so very, very important, especially in our closest of relationships. Often, our closest relationships are probably where people fail the most at good listening skills. Sometimes people will be great at work in listening, but when they get home, they don't listen to their family, their spouse, their significant others. And I believe that when we listen, we learn, and we are also letting another person know that we care. By listening, it shows that we care enough to set aside time and set aside our own outward thoughts in order to hear what someone else has to say, in order to take in what they want us to know about the subject matter that they're talking about. I believe in being a great listener. My sister, who has passed years ago, was one of the best listeners ever. I could call her up, and she was like a night owl. She used to stay up through the night, and so I always knew that if I needed someone to talk to in the middle of the night, I could call her up, and she would listen no matter how long I wanted to talk. And likewise, I'm that type of person too, that if someone calls me and they need that time, I'm likely to give it to them by just listening. And part of good listening is reflecting back to the person what they've just said. Part of listening is not always giving advice. Listening is not the same as giving advice. Okay, listening is listening and taking in and reflecting back what you just heard. And so, yeah, I think listening is such an important skill in just about every relationship, if not all, that there is. We learn so much through listening, and we really can improve our relationships through great listening skills. We can improve our professional relationships through great listening skills. There's not much worse than someone who just talks and talks and talks and talks and doesn't listen to the people around them. So consider great listening skills and make sure to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. From my house to yours, God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Bye-bye. Live life your way. Live your life your way. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking today about living life your way. You know, so often we want to please everybody else, so we try to live it their way. We try to do things that please them instead of pleasing ourselves. Well, I'm all about making other people happy, especially the people that I love. And yet, I want to remain my authentic self. I have my own likes and dislikes. For example, my one son, he doesn't like tomatoes. My other son loves tomatoes. And so to try to enforce my one son who doesn't like tomatoes to like tomatoes is just not going to work, or to tell my son that likes tomatoes not to eat tomatoes. And so I wouldn't do that. And so what I'm saying is we have our own likes and our dislikes, and we want to be authentic. We want to live our life with passion, and passion, we each get a different passion. We all have likes and dislikes, and things that make us happy, and things that make us excited, and things that we're passionate about that someone else may not be passionate about. So for me, it's important to live life my way, authentically me. I love being me. I love being an artist. I love being a writer. I love running. I love exercising. I love making YouTube videos. I love going to college. I love all those things, but someone else may not like any of those things. My husband is very different than me. I'm very different than him, but I support his journey and he supports my journey. And we both are excited about our lives together, and also the things that we individually like. So I believe in living life your way. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I'll talk to y'all soon again. Bye-bye. From Grandma's porch out here, another beautiful day. Giving yourself luxuries. Luxuries. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking about luxuries today. You know, luxuries do not have to be expensive, but I think luxuries are good for us. You know, I love a bubble bath. And bubble bath doesn't have to be expensive. You can even kind of make it your own. Sometimes I will even use shampoo in my bubbles for my bubble bath. Growing up, we had Mr. Bubble. Remember Mr. Bubble? And I like nice bubble bath. And sometimes I'll use Epsom salt type of thing, type of mixture in my bathtub. And yet sometimes I'll just use shampoo. I like the luxury of taking a bubble bath. I love candlelight in the evening, and for the most part, candles are not expensive unless you're buying the high-end ones. And so I think sometimes luxury can really, really be a good thing for us in our life. It doesn't have to be expensive. Sometimes, we like the luxury of eating out, but we don't have to eat out at the most expensive restaurant. Maybe it might just be a fast food restaurant for that matter. And, I love to give my husband a back rub, and he likes to give me a back rub too. I think he actually likes me giving him one better. But back rubs are luxury, and they don't cost anything if you're giving your spouse a back rub. And so that's a luxury, and it doesn't cost anything. And there's so many different little luxuries in life that we can have that don't cost much at all. And I think luxuries are really good for the soul. Taking time out to pamper ourselves. I believe in taking care of me. I really, really do. At night, because I'm a runner, y'all know I'm a runner at 62 years old, I soak my feet. I have this little vibrating foot soaker, and I put my feet in there, put a little Epsom salts. I've got this special soap I put in there, a little bit of bubbles, and I sit there and maybe soak my feet for 20 minutes. That's a luxury, but I'm taking great care of me. You can do your own nails. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money to have your nails done, whether it's your fingernails or your toenails. You can do them yourself, and little luxuries like that can make us feel so good. One day someone said, well, I really need my hair colored, but it's so expensive. I said, well, a lot of people do their own hair color at home for maybe $2 or $3. You can go to one of the stores and get a hair color for $2 or $3 in some cases. And, just be good to who you are and consider giving yourself luxuries. They don't have to be expensive. They can just be wonderful luxuries you already have at home. Well, from my house to yours, may God bless y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon again. Bye-bye. Prepare for what it is that you want in life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Many years ago, I read this book, and it was a small book, and it was about a woman who wanted to go to Hawaii, but she didn't have the money or the ability to go on her own. So what she did was she packed her suitcase and with all kinds of clothes that would be right for Hawaii, and she put Hawaii brochures in the suitcase on top of the clothes. And she put her suitcase on her bed. I don't know how long it was afterwards, but a friend of hers called her and said she had an extra ticket and no one to go to Hawaii with her. Would she like to go? So my friend, or not my friend, but the person in the book ended up going to Hawaii. She prepared for it. I believe in preparing for what it is that we want. I believe that if we want to have a great career, we prepare for it. We get that great education. We do everything to prepare for the opportunity so that when the opportunity comes, it doesn't pass us by. Before I met my husband, I was prepared for him. I had a great career. I looked great. I was physically fit. I knew the right things to do in a great relationship. I kind of learned that over time. And some of my mistakes, we all make mistakes in relationships. So I had learned what doesn't work. I was prepared for when I met my husband. And then my husband came along and I was prepared and it worked. So I believe that we prepare ourselves beforehand. If we're not prepared and an opportunity presents itself, then we're not ready for it. It often will pass us by. And so I believe in preparing. If you want to buy a car and you want to buy the right car, sometimes you have to save the money first. And then you begin looking for that car. You go through the paper, you go online, you research the best deals, you comparison shopping, you decide exactly what you want, you cut out a picture of the car that you want. You put it on your refrigerator so you have the visual, and then you begin to do everything to prepare for that car. So when that opportunity comes along, you're prepared for it. I believe in preparing for the successes that we want in our lives. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Don't make a permanent decision based upon a temporary situation. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, so many of us have heard that saying, don't make a permanent decision based upon a temporary situation. And you know what? I truly kind of side with that. I truly believe that often people make permanent decisions based upon temporary problems or temporary situations. And often those choices and decisions can be wrong, not always. For me, I try to be slow in my assessment and in my way of handling a problem so that I handle it right. Now, some problems we have to react quicker than others, and I've got that. And yet, the more information and the more thinking about a situation that I can do often leads to better decisions. And often people make really big decisions based on something that's very temporary. And then they look back in hindsight and they say, oh, I wish I wouldn't have made that decision. Sometimes they've made the right decision, but sometimes they haven't. And so my rule of thumb in life is if I think that I'm dealing with a problem that is more temporary, I try to look at the decisions that I could make that would be best for short-term and for long term. Because if I make a permanent decision based upon a short-term event, what's going to happen after that problem has passed or after that situation has passed? Am I going to be happy with the decision that I made that is going to be more permanent? And, you know, even like for some people, they'll go out and they'll look at cars and say maybe their car is having some mechanical issues. And some people will go out and spend a lot of money on a brand new car, whereas they could have probably spent far less money getting their car repaired and keeping it going till they were in a better financial situation in order to afford the car that they want. So in a sense, they made a permanent decision based upon a short-term problem. So I'm very, very careful in the kind of decisions and choices that I make when I sense that a problem or a situation is temporary. And if it's a more permanent problem, I do my very, very best at trying to gather all information, taking my time to assess the situation, and then making a right decision. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Make your life happen. Create positive habits. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I really got to thinking about positive health habits today and positive habits in general and making our lives happen in the most positive way. You know, so often people get fixated and consumed by problems, by difficulties, by challenges, and I fully understand that. There are problems, challenges, and difficulties for most people in life at one level or another, at one time or another. And yet, I believe it's so important to keep our focus and our energy on the positives in life. Often people get into bad health habits and they just get stuck there. And I believe it's important to acknowledge bad health habits and then make a turnaround in a positive direction. It can be in small steps or it can be in big steps, depending on what a person chooses to do. I believe it can be in habits in any area of life. The way someone spends, perhaps their spending is out of control and they need to stop it and then turn around in a positive direction and make positive financial decisions and choices. It could be relationship habits. Perhaps they've become so negative in a relationship or in relationships in general that their attitude is really getting in the way of every relationship that they have. They need to change that attitude, change that habit, and go in a positive direction and create great relationships. I believe that sometimes we have to change our habits before our lives will change. I believe that it's important to give our energy to the positive. Yes, sometimes, unfortunately, we have to give our energy and our time to the negative while we're cleaning it up, straightening it up, or trying to solve an issue. And yet, it's important to remember that we don't want to stay there. We want to put our energy on the positives in life, the things that are going to make our lives great. For me, going back to college at age 62 last year was a very, very big thing. I had to give a lot of time and energy to it. And even now, I have to give a lot of time and energy to it, but it's a very, very positive thing in life. And so even when I get sidetracked a little bit onto things that I have to deal with, I still give my focus to what's going to make my life great. So often people get sidetracked, they stay over there and they give their energy over there, and even when the problem is resolved, they don't go back to the positives in their life and give their energy to the positives. It is important for us to give our energy and our time to the positives so that our lives will stay positive, so that great things will happen in our lives. And so yes, we all have to deal with challenges and issues from time to time, and yet we need to always keep in mind that we want to get our focus and our energy back to the positives in life. And if we have negative habits, whether they be health habits or any other kind of negative habits, the importance is to focus on that, acknowledge those habits or habit, and then make the change accordingly so that it becomes a positive and then a great habit. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Make your home smell delicious. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, you know, I'm very much into fragrances. I love my home to smell wonderful. When you come into my entryway, you will probably notice some wonderful fragrance as you enter. And it's usually very subtle. It's not overwhelming or overpowering. I don't like overpowering fragrances any more than I like someone to wear a heavy cologne or a heavy perfume. I like something that's very, very light, but yet noticeable. And so when you come into my home, you're probably going to notice right away that it smells delicious. It smells wonderful. I think so often people forget this important detail, a wonderful detail to their home, to their car, or to their life. You know, when you get into my car, I also have little fragrances. I love the way my car smells. And I have those little potpourri type wax burners where they're warmers and they kind of warm the wax, and the aroma goes throughout the house. Now I have them in several areas of my home. And also there's many ways. You don't have to just use the wax burners or the wax warmers. I remember one year I went out and bought all kinds of fruit and diced it up and put cinnamon sticks into a pan of simmering water and put it on the back of the stove and let it simmer lightly, slowly, all day long, and it filled the house up with this wonderful, wonderful aroma. So I think that there's a lot of ways that one can make their house smell good, their cars smell good, or even themselves smell good. You know, I love perfume and I love good perfume, and yet I don't like a lot of it. I think less is more. People who wear too much perfume, it can become overpowering to the people around them. Or even men who wear too much cologne, it can just go practically knock someone out. And so I'm always very respectful of that. If I wear a cologne or a perfume, I make sure it's just a little dab of it that is noticeable, but never overwhelming. So yeah, I think a lot of people forget the little details of life. And I'm very much of a detail person. Being an artist, I'm very much into 100 details, and fragrances happen to be one of those details. And so if you're missing out on having a fragrance in your home or your apartment or your car or wherever, you may want to consider, adding fragrance to your home. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.